I'm Christina Giordano, the founder of Sold, and my philosophy is simple. People can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. That is SOUL''D. And in order to sell with soul, you have to be sold on you first. This is business that begins within. This is Sold. This week's episode is called Start Here, the Sold Approach, and it helps you not only identify if sold is right for you, but also which path to take once you decide that it is. And I'm going to give you a little preview here of what that episode entails, but as you know, you can find the full episode on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now, most people don't struggle because they have something valuable to offer. They struggle because their expression of it isn't stable yet. And this can be due to a variety of reasons. It can be because they are only speaking to the byproducts of their work and not the actual transformation they provide. This would be a gap in messaging integrity. It can also be because there's a gap between how they show up and what they're saying. So this would be a gap in energetic coherence. It can also be because they are simply inconsistent with their expression. One day they feel clear, the next day they second guess, they override themselves, or they just disappear. These are just a few manifestations of the same root cause. Now, most people think that what they have is a strategy problem. They don't. They have a coherence problem that is rooted in misalignment. And what I mean by that is this: part of you already knows what you're here to do. Part of you already knows how to show up for it. And part of you already knows what feels true. But another part of you is bracing. Another part of you is hooked on to forcing and efforting and trying. And another part of you is overriding what you actually know in order to create results faster or more predictably or more safely. Sometimes you stop moving and sometimes you try harder, but the loop keeps happening. And it's because your system, the part of you that knows, the part of you that decides, and the part of you that is showing up for it isn't moving as one. It's scattered, it's doubted, it's negotiated, it's fragmented, it's fatigued. In essence, it's not aligned. And when you're not aligned, your expression becomes inconsistent. And when that becomes inconsistent, your visibility becomes inconsistent. And when visibility becomes inconsistent, your results become inconsistent. What you're trying to manifest from your marketing won't happen because the foundation for it to land is not available yet. And this is the piece almost nobody talks about, because strategy is visible, coherence is internal. Strategy is measurable, coherence is felt. Strategy can be copied, coherence has to be built. So people trying to fix something external, when what they actually need is to support internal alignment. Because once alignment stabilizes, things start to happen. Your message becomes simpler, your decisions get clearer, your visibility becomes easier to sustain, and your business begins responding differently. Not because you suddenly found the perfect strategy, but because your system finally feels safe enough to hold what you are creating. So, if the problem isn't strategy, and the problem isn't motivation, and the problem isn't even consistency in the way that most people think about it, then what actually restores coherence? This is the work inside Soul. And this is the work that we do together, because coherence isn't something you force, it's something you stabilize. And there are two sides to that process. The first side is structure, and the second side is capacity. The structure is what I call the marketing methods, and the capacity is what I call the manifesting methods. And you need both. You need both. Because most people are trying to build structure without stabilizing their capacity, or they're trying to expand capacity without building structure. So they end up doing one of two things. They either build something they can't sustain, or they become someone who's ready for more, but they don't have a container that can hold it. And both of these experiences can feel absolutely frustrating and confusing. And both of them create the sense that something just isn't landing. The marketing methods helps you stabilize your expression. So they help you understand what you're here to say, how your work is meant to be seen, and how to create visibility that feels natural, not forced. They build the structure that supports your voice. But structure alone isn't enough, because even when your message is clear and your direction is clear and your strategy is clear, your system still has to feel safe enough to hold what happens next. That's where the manifesting methods come in. They stabilize the receiver. They help your nervous system adjust to being seen, to being recognized, to being supported, to being paid, to being trusted, to being responded to, because a lot of people don't struggle with knowing what to do. They struggle with holding what happens when it starts working. And if that part of you isn't supported, your system will quietly interrupt your own momentum, not on purpose, and not because you're doing something wrong, but because it doesn't feel safe yet to hold what you're creating. And when those two things begin working together, structure and capacity, expression and receiving, clarity and stability, something shifts. Your presence becomes recognizable. Your message becomes consistent. Decisions get simpler, and your business begins organizing itself around something that is real, relatable, and true. Not performative, not strategic, true. And I want to say something here that feels really important because it just needs to be said. Part of the reason this work exists at all is that I genuinely struggled with the way that marketing and manifesting has been taught. Marketing is not performance. Manifesting is not mysticism. Most people teach marketing as convince, persuade, overcome objections. What I'm teaching is root your expression in truth and stabilize there so that people can recognize you over time. Most people teach manifesting as believe harder and visualize more. What I'm teaching is build the internal structural capacity to hold what you're asking for. Marketing isn't supposed to be about becoming louder than you are. It isn't supposed to be about constantly optimizing yourself for attention. And it isn't supposed to require you to override your instincts just to stay visible. Marketing is expression. It's the process of making what's true inside of you visible enough for other people to recognize it. That's it. And when expression is stable, marketing becomes sustainable. And manifesting isn't about controlling the universe. It isn't about thinking the right thoughts. And it isn't about forcing yourself to feel positive all the time so something will finally work. Manifesting is about capacity. It's about whether your system is supported enough to receive what you're building, whether it's recognition, support, money, clients, or even just momentum. Because if your system isn't supported in receiving those things, it doesn't matter how clear your strategy is. Something inside of you will interrupt the process, not because you're doing something wrong, but because it doesn't feel safe yet to hold what you're asking for. And this is the place where most people get stuck. They try to fix the strategy when what they actually need is support in stabilizing their expression. Or they try to fix their mindset when what they actually need is support expanding their capacity. So instead of forcing one side or the other, this work brings both back into alignment. Structure and capacity, expression and receiving, marketing and manifesting, working together the way that they were always meant to. Sold is not about becoming someone new. It's about stabilizing your ability to express the heart of what you do, that you already know that you're here to do. So your message is rooted in truth, your expression becomes clear, and your visibility becomes consistent, and your business can finally organize around your actual essence. This is what I call business that begins within. If what I'm talking about here is singing to you, you know where to find the rest of this episode on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Again, it's Sold with Christina Giordano. I hope to see you there. Until next time, be well and take care.